G'day guys, and unless you've been living under a rock, the Cats are in crisis. We're not even sure if they'll make the top four, and I've got Langers with me on the line here today to have a bit of a chat about the Cats and where they're at, what's going on with these injuries and these suspensions, who's going to replace everyone, where are the Cats going to end up, is their season over for anything greater than maybe a win in the finals or a finals appearance, full stop. Thanks, mate. We've got a fair few on the sidelines. I might just quickly run through the list, but how are you doing today, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Ty. Thanks for having me. It's been a big week, another frustrating week for Cat supporters.
Spot on, mate. Yeah, just some more terrible discipline actions from players. Tom Hawkins, for the third time in under 2 years, he's just clipped a player with a nice punch, and it was very frustrating to watch. Mitch Duncan, who's pretty cool most of the time, and he also gave Papley a punch, who may be a serial diver, but you just don't do it, and you don't give the umpires a reason for them to, suspend you, fine you, whatever you like. But so those are two big outs. Selwood probably the biggest injury to come out of it, but Dangerfield will be coming back in. I'll just quickly go through the injury list we got here. So we got Blitzarves, 3 or 4 weeks with an ankle. Cockatoo, 3 or 4 weeks with a hamstring. And they're unlikely to make it back by finals. Cowan's out for the season with Achilles, but is he in our best 22 is the real question. Duncan will be back after the Richmond game. Gregson's out for the year. He's been a bit disappointing on the injury front. Hawkins will be back in 2 weeks' time. Got an extra week for that bad record, which has held him in terrible stead. Holland Smith, ankle injury, no real estimation of return. Darcy Lang, shin 1 week. McCarthy's been out all year. He's out for the season. Menzel, Motlop could potentially come back in. We'll talk about them soon. Soreness and groin there, respectively. Narkle's done his ACL, I believe. He's out for the season. Selwood, they're saying 3 to 4 weeks, and the record's 5. So, but you feel like Joel could get up in about 4. So, those are the ones we have out, mate. Any players there of absolute significance that we just wish we had? Players that need to fill certain roles? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, well, obviously, Selwood's the big one. He's the captain. He's the spiritual leader. He's the first person you pick when you're 3 weeks out of a finals campaign. The next biggest one I'd probably say is Cockatoo. The games where he's playing, and I said this in our review of the Sydney game, he just adds that speed and that just raw, absolute beast athleticism. He's just a maniac when he's on the field. We benefit so much from when he is playing, and that's a big loss. Yeah, as are the others, but Selwood and Cocky I'd be putting first on that list of guys we want back straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. Tommy Hawkins, I reckon, would be a big one on that list as well, probably in that top 3 there. We dare say a few will come back, but the overall big picture, mate, a big loss to Sydney at the home deck on Friday night, which is a disappointing, performance. And Sydney have just had our measure the last few times. They've really got over us pretty comfortably, it has to be said. In the overall scheme of things, it's hard we've got to have Collingwood after Richmond. So we've got Richmond this week at Simmons. Then we've got Collingwood at the MCG, which is no easy fight there. And then we've got the Giants at Simmons. Depending on how the Giants are going, I think they're probably the only win we could have in the next 3 weeks with the inclusions we'll have by that time. Collingwood traditionally have the wood over us. Don't know how, don't know why. They just bring this frenetic pressure that always puts us under pressure, and where they look like a bottom 4 side when we play them, and they get us every time. Wells kills us whenever he plays us, and these players just get so much run and drive and carry from half back and make us look like a very mediocre side. The Tigers haven't beaten us since 2006 at Simmons Stadium, believe it or not, when we were going pretty terribly. We lost by 20 points that day, and I think I remember Tim Lane just saying they're about to knock the place down. It was quite a momentous quote there. But if the Tigers can't beat us now with the form they're in, I don't know when they will beat us. It'd have to be a monumental effort. And there's so many guys that we need. Menzel and Motlop may come back in. I think they may be forced to come back in because we simply just out of numbers, mate. I'm not sure if you've got any lists there with you, but we really are sort of short a number of players, and our list is just looking very flimsy at the moment.
Yeah, people. I wouldn't be surprised if we had 5 or 6 changes this week. Obviously, with the 3 coming out with suspension and injury, I wouldn't be surprised if Zach Guthrie came out. I know Tom Ruggles played quite well on the weekend.
Yeah, give him a game.
I think at this stage of the year, I'd rather have Ruggles in. As sloppy as he may be, he is an experienced older player, and he does do his job quite well. You probably don't want him kicking out of the back line, but he can definitely man the player and definitely stop a player from kicking goals. And I think Guthrie, as good as he's looked, he's just too young and he just hasn't got that experience in him yet. Obviously, Motlop, Menzel, they're probably 2 people you want in as well as Ruggles. Possibly Cunico coming in for Sam Simpson as well, and obviously Dangerfield coming back. They are handy ins, but with Richmond's form, and all credit to them, they've been in amazing form. You wouldn't be tipping against Richmond this week.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Good stuff there. And Dangerfield will be handy, but I feel like they could potentially tag him, and I couldn't see why they wouldn't, since that's been a hallmark to beating us. We're probably a Dangerfield tag away from looking like a debacle, because behind Dangerfield, you've got Menegola, Scott Selwood, and it looks pretty slow after that. I wouldn't even know who else we have in the midfield currently, because there's just that many players out. I probably couldn't name the 4th or 5th midfielder, maybe in the 6th, but yeah, we're going to have our work cut out for sure. Our midfield's probably never looked so, I guess, inexperienced or classy for a long, long time. It's going to be very workmanlike this week, as it was last week. But big picture style, mate. I mean, you got to be a supporter, you got to be positive, and all those sorts of things. But it wouldn't be impossible or unrealistic to say Geelong may not even win another game this year. What do you think?
Well, like I said during the review from the Sydney game, the thing that's going for us is how even the rest of the competition is. And I said that on the Saturday night. And the next day, the Giants were losing to Melbourne by 3 goals. And for the rest of the quarter, I think it was 11 minutes, they kicked 8 goals straight. So you never know what can happen this year. Any game is not decided at the start of the game. Anything can happen. You can say we could lose every game for the rest of the year, or we could come out and beat Richmond by 50, which is getting a bit crazy. But you never know. Anything can happen.
Very good, mate. At least one of us is positive on the show here. Just moved you along there just to keep it nice and even. But yeah, look, so many good players out. So much of our depth is out as well. So it's not the stars, but also the players you would have replacing the stars when they're out are also seemingly out. You would expect Menzel and Motlop to come back in. You've also got Black and Stanley sitting on the sidelines. I'm not sure whether they would go maybe a Stanley or a Black. I would think, and I would probably almost rather have a Menzel in and keep a small forward line. Richmond and the Bulldogs over the last 2 years have sort of shown that mobile forward line is a really solid setup. But it's an interesting one because Menzel can't chase and tackle, so he's not really a small forward. He's not a tall forward, so just that mid-size. Sometimes one-trick pony, as Shorty sometimes alludes to him, and he wants him traded at the end of the year, which is an interesting call and maybe not unwarranted for sure. But look, a big few tests, mate, coming up. We're going to find a lot about this football club and what it stands for and the character that we have over the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Absolutely. I think this is the most pressing time the club's had in the last couple of years. Obviously, we missed finals a couple of years ago, but I can't remember a time where a club has just fallen apart with injuries and bad form and suspensions in a period. It's just crazy. Like, we were sitting second 2 weeks ago, we beat Carlton. We think, how good is this? We're going to stroll into finals, and a week later we're down where we are now. It's hard to believe that we're still in the top 4. It feels like we're just hanging on to the 8 at the moment. You said it before we started recording. We're still 6 points clear. So even if we do lose, we'll still be in the top 4. But there just won't be any trust with the team anymore. We don't know what we're going to dish up, and that's not really the team's fault because of all the injuries and suspensions. But yeah, it's hard to say what will happen. I know you and Shorty are big on Menzel's lack of tackling and maybe some running, but if he keeps climbing marks and kicking goals, that's all we need him to do, really.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I'm a guy that sort of sits on the fence with that one. If he's kicking 2 to 3 goals a game as a small forward, you'd probably take that. That's 44 to 66 goals a year if you're playing 22 games. If you're playing every game, which he wouldn't, but theoretically, yeah, that's the case there. But no, we've got a lot of question marks right at the moment, and it's got a shade of 2014 about it, where in 14 we were a good side. We got touched up a couple of times. Sydney got us by 110 in that year, unbelievably. Our percentage was pretty poor, and we were sort of hanging on in the top 4. We were sort of the lower echelon of the top 4, and it showed when we went out in straight sets. It's got a bit of that feeling. If I'm tipping right now, I would say anywhere between 5th to 7th will probably be where we finish up. I can see Sydney certainly jumping up into 4th spot. They should be at least in the top 4 somewhere, but I don't think it matters where they finish in the 8. I think they'll be at least in the last 2 weeks of the finals, but we'll be doing very, very, very well to win a final this year, I would have thought.
Yeah. Well, like I said to you during the week, we just want to get to that week off before the finals. I know Shorty hates it because it makes everyone equal and gets rid of momentum, but for us this year and for the Bulldogs last year, if we just get to that week off before the finals, we can regroup, hopefully get some players back. Maybe Blitzard comes back, maybe we get Selwood back, we never know. We regroup then and see what happens. Like I said, everything's even. Once finals here, once everyone has that week off, all the momentum of the other team should be dwindled a little bit. We should be able to, depending where we finish, we should be able to knock someone off at least. But I think the best option for us now would, it's hard to say, but you'd want to be finishing either 2nd or 5th. I think if we finish 2nd, we get a home final, then hopefully, depending who we're playing, and then maybe obviously get the game down at Simmons, again, depending who we're playing, because the AFL might take it off and take it off us again.
Yeah.
If we finish 2nd, get the double chance, maybe beat whoever we're playing there, or we finish 5th and maybe play 8th. It could be an Essendon, could be a Western Bulldogs, could even be Saints or Melbourne. Rather be playing those teams that haven't proved themselves in finals. Obviously, Bulldogs proved themselves last year, but I'd rather be playing someone from 5th, playing the 8th place team like a Melbourne or a St Kilda who don't have that finals experience like we do.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Very well said, and great to have you on today. Been a solid contributor. Great work.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, Langs. Just joined in today with myself and just talking about the Cats and their aspirations, injuries, will they make the finals, and all these kinds of questions. So in the comments, I guess, if you want to talk a bit about the Cats, who could come in, will the Cats make the top 4, will they win a final? Got all these questions for you guys, so chuck your answers in the comments below. That'd be great. And thanks for listening in to another podcast. Join with Langs today. And muchly appreciated for you guys joining in. I'll catch you guys all next time.